Mr. Jack Nash, President of Convair.
As President of the Convair Division of the General Dynamics Corporation, I want to welcome you into the family. We're glad to have you with us, and we hope your stay will be long, happy, and mutually productive. Our family have been working together for over 30 years, and during that time, the name Convair has become a trademark synonymous with quality and performance. During that time, our diversified efforts have produced some of the outstanding weapons in the inventory of national defense. That sound you are hearing is a Convair all-weather interceptor. It is a sound you will be hearing frequently, and in a way, it is the sound of Convair. It is a sound which you will be hearing with names such as Dagger, Dart, Hustler, and Atlas. Names you will become more familiar with before this film ends. Convair not only has had an interesting history and an exciting future, but it has a tremendous responsibility. Most manufacturing concerns, producing as they do items for the comfort of life, are preoccupied with pleasing their customer. We have a much graver responsibility. We must see to it that the weapons of our national defense are so superior that no other nation would dare attempt to invade us. In other words, our business is concerned with protecting the American way of life, which is looked on so jealously by our potential enemies. Here in San Diego are located the general offices of the 5 Convair divisions, which are located in California and Texas. Since you will be working in the San Diego division, I would like you to meet someone who joins with me in saying, welcome aboard.
Hello there. I'm Sandy Cogan, Vice President and Manager of Convair San Diego Division. And I'd like to emphasize those words, welcome aboard. We're sincerely happy to have you join us, because we realize we must have good people like yourselves to help us maintain the position we have gained, and also to meet the greater challenges of the future. This is now your future, too. But I wonder how you are feeling right now. A bit confused, probably. Maybe even worried that I'm going to make you listen to a long-winded lecture. Well, relax, I'm not. I'll sketch in a general framework of Convair San Diego, so you'll have a rough idea of what goes on around here. Then I'll let you listen to some other people who can tell you more about Convair San Diego. So for a moment, take a good look at this aerial photo and imagine that you're looking out of the windows of one of our Convair liners as it approaches San Diego from an altitude of about 4,000 feet. If your imagination's working right, you're now looking at one of the fastest growing cities in America. And Convair is one of the chief reasons for this remarkable growth. Convair covers quite a bit of real estate all over the north side of San Diego. You'll notice an office building rearing up against the landscape. It's called Building 19. From this building flow the policies and decisions which have made the name Convair a trademark of superior quality throughout the world. Across Pacific Highway from Building 19 is the engineering heart of Convair's San Diego division. We call this Plant 1. It borders the highway for nearly a mile. Here, in the engineering buildings, more than 6,000 men and women work to keep Convair products a step ahead of the rest of the industry. Like every other man-made thing, an airplane is born in a human mind. But at that point, it's simply an idea that may or may not work. This one did. Making sure it will work is the function of Convair's Engineering Research and Development Section, which is actually a team of engineering specialists representing dozens of different fields. Here in Plant 2, engineering research and development specialists spent 10 years on the planning stages of some of the Convair aircraft now in production. We had to make sure of all the answers, because upon them may depend the life of the free world. Paralleling engineering research and development is manufacturing development. Once a new aircraft is ready to go into full production, we must have developed the necessary tools, equipment, and techniques for a swift, economical, and efficient manufacturing operation. Convair fabrication and subassembly shops contain millions of dollars worth of the finest machinery and equipment available to perform the increasingly complex operations vital to the manufacture of advanced aircraft. We've now moved on to Building 2, where commercial airliners are assembled and painted in preparation for the rigorous field and flight tests they receive before delivery to the customers. From this same assembly area came the new Convair Metropolitan 440, which has the distinction of being the quietest commercial airliner in operation today. And airwise people everywhere recognize this familiar Convair liner, long the standard of airlines, dedicated to speed, comfort, and dependability. Incidentally, this Air Force hospital plane, the Flying Samaritan, is one of the many different Convair liner models. Looking ahead to commercial aviation of tomorrow, many of you may be working on the four-engine jet Convair transports, now being fabricated for delivery to several airlines. The 880, the world's fastest and most luxurious airliner, is a direct result of the forward-looking research, development, and manufacturing skills that have made Convair a leader in the aircraft industry. This program challenges all of us to give our best in efficient, quality workmanship. Now I can almost hear you asking, what about all those military aircraft? Well, Building 3 witnessed the construction of the gigantic Navy seaplanes called trade winds. They're mammoths of the air, capable of refueling 4 jets simultaneously. And of landing troops on a distant beachhead. In Plant 2, which we saw a moment ago, many of you may soon be working on one of the finest, fastest, and most deadly supersonic interceptors yet to be developed in the entire world, the highly advanced F-106. Convair was a pioneer in the development of delta wing aircraft at a time when other aircraft manufacturers insisted it was impractical. Some manufacturers have now accepted the concrete evidence of the delta wing's advantages and are beginning to adapt it to their own designs. But Convair still leads. In this same pioneer tradition is the Pogo, first vertical rising fighter type plane. The Sea Dart is another example of how Convair continues to forge ahead into the unknown. this Sea Dart was the first supersonic fighter-type water-based aircraft in the world. If you like to read science fiction, you'll relive many of your favorite stories as you become better acquainted at Convair. For a long time, we've been thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow in terms of new sciences and through continuing research and development programs. Many of these things, and more not yet dreamed of, will become realities in our time. What we are doing today and will do tomorrow are things important to the world, things you will be a part of here at Convair San Diego. You'll have a hand in shaping the fascinating new world that is coming so quickly. You and the other men and women who all make Convair's accomplishments possible. Okay, that's my story. And I think you'd like to hear from some people who were sitting just where you're sitting now, not too many years ago.
I don't think Sandy was talking about you, Ray. I always thought you came with the property.
Oh, I'm just a World War II baby. Well, I guess I have built up some mileage at that. You know, it seems like the day before yesterday when I started near the bottom of that well-known ladder in aircraft research and development. Does this routine look familiar to you? Indoctrination back in '43 wasn't much different than it is today. And when it was over, I was ready to start on the job. After a short walk through some of the buildings, we finally got to my engineering group. I was introduced to the rest of the men, and they seemed nice enough fellows. But then, when you're starting out as associate engineer, you're never quite sure. I found out an interesting thing, though. Something I'd known before. Something I guess everyone knows but doesn't realize. Strange faces get familiar after a while. And the people behind them are generally pretty friendly.
Ray, you've been one of the top R&D engineers ever since I came to work here. How'd you make it up that ladder?
I went to school nights. You'd be surprised how many Convair people are taking courses after working hours. Bob, didn't you have an article on that in Convariety?
I sure did, Ray. Here, Harry, maybe you missed this one. And perhaps some of you would like to know more about educational facilities here in San Diego, which, by the way, are among the finest in the country. There are great opportunities for graduate study, not to mention undergraduate work toward a college degree. Things are moving fast in our industry, and it's particularly important for engineers, technicians, and scientists to keep on their toes by going to school in spare time. But Convair needs well-trained people in all departments. In fact, educational assistance programs have been set up to help employees finance outside study. They can take courses that apply directly to their work or lead to a degree in certain fields. Convair also encourages employees to join professional societies in their various fields. The company wants to see people improve themselves because it needs top people to keep abreast and ahead of the aviation industry. So Convair is ready to help anyone who wants to go up the ladder. You might say it's a kind of a partnership between Convair and any far-sighted employee with ambition and willingness to do a little more than his present job calls for.
Don't misunderstand, though. This self-improvement business is strictly voluntary. No one's ever been penalized for not participating. We're free people in a free country, and Convair never dictates what we should do with our free time. But I found that if you've got the initiative to improve yourself, Convair will go all the way with you.
Along this line, maybe we should say something about the training program right here inside Convair. Ray, you're pretty familiar with that program.
I'd better be. The training section functions in plants 1 and 2, which you saw earlier. Training bulletin boards scattered throughout both plants announce the time, place, and subject matter of various courses being offered. Men and women anxious to be a part of the aircraft industry, but with no previous related experience, are given a 2 weeks basic course of instruction in aircraft assembly skills. The course is called Vestibule Training. It covers many things, including the use of the 6-inch scale, techniques and uses of various files, drills, and countersinks, rivets and riveting techniques, blueprint reading, electrical system wiring, and a great many other skills. In another part of Plant 2, hand-picked employees, top men who have proven their skill and ability, are trained in checkout technique on complex electronic and mechanical gear, like this ejection seat. Of course, any employees who've gone through our training will be glad to answer your questions about it.
Providing the answers aren't classified.
I'm glad you brought that up, Harry, because it's one of the most important things we could discuss with new employees. Government contracts are protected with security regulations. If we violate them, we lose the contracts. And government contracts make up a substantial part of our business. Now, that's pretty basic, isn't it? But actually, there are even more important things at stake. Our enemies would like to know what we're doing here at Convair, and more important, how we're doing it. From the same newspapers and magazines that you and I read, they can get a general idea of our work. But there's quite a gap between a general, often very hazy idea, and accurate knowledge, or intelligence, as it's often called. Espionage agents know that a lot of combined and coordinated imagination, knowledge, experimentation, and skill go into the different parts making up an advanced aircraft. This involves many people and departments, whose input is measured in facts and figures, blueprints, schematics, memoranda, tests, and just plain conversation. The result is a plane which may someday help defeat enemy aggression. Now, the espionage agent knows that he would have immense difficulty getting a complete report on such a plane, or any other advanced project at a Convair plant. But careless talk by Convair employees can help the espionage agent assemble his report. He knows how to put together facts, figures, blueprints, and miscellaneous bits and fragments of information. So you can see that modern espionage is very much like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, only it is not a game. How serious is the Kremlin about espionage? Well, it has spent millions of dollars to train espionage agents. Their mission is twofold: to steal secrets and to sabotage production both directly and indirectly. Getting a job in a defense plant is one of the most effective ways for an enemy agent to carry on his work of espionage or sabotage. That's why so much importance is placed on the security system that protects Convair. But no security system can do the job alone. We've got to remember such basic ground rules as take good care of all classified information and return it to the classified files as soon as you can. Make sure all classified files are securely locked when you leave for the day. Leave your work behind you when you go home. Don't wear your Convair badge outside the plant. Remember, what you see here, do here, learn here, stays here. Well, that about covers the highlights of our security program. Except that we've all been living with these regulations for years and probably will have to do so as long as the present world situation continues.
Oh, you're certainly right about that, Bob. Now, since you referred to the recent past, suppose we go all the way back and tell our new friends something about the history of Convair.
Well, Norma, we were talking about that just the other day. Why don't you get the ball rolling?
Well, I've done some research on the early days. For instance, how the company got started in 1923 back in Rhode Island, when Major Reuben Fleet began building such early planes as the PT-1, TW-3, and the Consolidated Pioneer. From Rhode Island, the company moved to Buffalo, New York for a few years, and then moved to San Diego in 1935 to take advantage of the excellent year-round flying weather.
I believe another reason was the facilities for designing and developing water-based aircraft for the United States Navy. In fact, the PBY Catalina was the plane that really put us on the map. It was called the Old Cat. We must have built about 2,000 of them, real workhorses. They're still being used in many places throughout the world.
Now you're getting up to the days when youngsters like me joined the company. During World War II, we built thousands of B-24 Liberator bombers. We built so many, I never wanted to see another one. I guess our enemies felt the same way. With other wartime planes, our total output amounted to nearly 13% of all aircraft built by the entire industry, commercial, Army, and Navy. Consolidated Aircraft Corporation had merged with Vultee Aircraft Corporation of Downey, California. We were known by the letters CVAC. Later, the name was changed to Convair because it was easier to use in conversation and correspondence.
Now, to get a quick picture of Convair as it is today, it's probably easiest to think of 5 basic divisions. First, there are the San Diego aircraft plants, which we've already covered. Second, there's the Astronautics Division, also located in San Diego. Here, behind closely guarded doors, we're doing classified work on the Atlas, Convair's intercontinental ballistic missile. The third division is the Convair plant in Fort Worth, Texas. And even aircraft plants grow big in Texas. It was here in this mile-long building that the celebrated B-36, the world's first truly intercontinental bomber, was built. Fabulous B-58 Hustler, America's first supersonic bomber, has taken its place on the Fort Worth assembly lines. The Hustler is another Convair product designed to keep America in the forefront of international aviation. Convair's 4th basic division is the Aerophysics Laboratory in Dangerfield, Texas. This laboratory is devoted to the study of pure and applied science. As aircraft continue to fly higher and faster and farther, the application of physics to flight must not only keep up, but it must stay at least one jump ahead. Highly specialized testing and experimental equipment like supersonic wind tunnels, ramjet engines, high-altitude testing equipment and similar devices are in daily use in this aviation tomorrowland. Convair's 5th basic division is here in Pomona, California, where guided missiles are manufactured. Most famous of these missiles is the Navy's Terrier, a deadly sea-to-air missile now operational on many of the newer fighting ships. In addition to these 5 basic divisions, Convair employees are scattered everywhere at special projects we call off-site bases. These are places where our aircraft and missiles are put through their paces. Here at Convair's Palmdale facility in the California Mojave Desert, the Air Defense Command's F-102 Daggers and F-106 Darts are put through their Air Force acceptance tests. Firepower tests of the F-102 and F-106 armament systems are conducted by Convair's weapons experts at the Holloman Air Development Center in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Ray, suppose you tell us about some of the other General Dynamics companies.
Sure, I'd be glad to. This map will give you some idea where these other companies are located. Here is the Electric Boat Company. They've been building submarines for years. In fact, the new atomic-powered submarines, the Nautilus and the Seawolf, were built at Electric Boat. Canadair Limited is a Canadian subsidiary of General Dynamics. They're the outfit building the Canadian version of the Sabre jet. At the other end of the line is Electrodynamic Corporation in Bayonne, New Jersey. They're pioneers in the electric motor industry, the oldest company in the General Dynamics group. Stromberg Carlson is another one of the famous names in General Dynamics family. It's been a leader in the radio and electronics fields for years. The main plant is in Rochester, New York, but there's also a plant right here in San Diego.
Ray, let's not forget another General Dynamics division located right here in San Diego, General Atomic. It's devoted to the development of peaceful use of atomic power. It's located here in the new John J. Hopkins Laboratory, where nuclear reactors are built and tested. The newest General Dynamics division is the Liquid Carbonics Corporation. It is the country's largest producer of carbon dioxide, of great importance in the expanding missile field.
General Dynamics has worked out a plan of industrial diversification geared to the future, the peaceful atomic future. This overall diversification makes the different divisions, like Convair, less vulnerable to any economic recessions because of shifting world conditions. And that's plenty important to any employee, new or old. It means he can feel just that much more secure in his job. Convair, as a division of General Dynamics, can stand economic disturbances much better than Convair alone could stand them. What this all adds up to is that as Convair employees, we have more security while we're also building for the future. A future which we can shape for ourselves in a vigorous, far-sighted company.
That was very well put, Ray. And for the most of us, that future is right here in San Diego.
Which is a mighty good place to live.
Good for us and good for San Diego. Say, I understand that Convair adds many millions of dollars a year to the city's economy.
I can believe that. Convair employs more people than any other industry in San Diego.
It certainly seems that way when you're trying to get out of the parking lot during a shift change. But we would have enough space if everyone pooled their cars. The rider-driver desk in the employee service building can solve anyone's transportation problems. You can find a driver or riders going to or coming from every part of the San Diego area. Convair has reserved special close-in parking lot space specifically for their use alone. Any Convair employee in the market for a house or apartment to rent or anxious to buy or sell a house can enlist the aid of the housing desk. It's just another example of the way Convair employees cooperate and help one another for their mutual benefit.
Speaking of mutual benefits, I know I was pretty happy to learn that Convair had a group insurance and retirement plan when I came to work here. It's about the best example of employee management cooperation I've ever heard of.
It all goes to show what can happen when you get nearly 100% of the people pulling together on an insurance program like ours. There are a couple of things we might bring out, though. Every Convair employee gets the first $5,000 of life insurance paid for by the company. Now, he can get more than that if he wants to, but he has to pay for it. And the rates are very reasonable on that extra coverage.
Don't forget the dependents.
Well, that's right, Ray. A Convair employee's dependents are eligible for coverage, too. You have to sign them up within 30 days after you've been hired, otherwise it'll be necessary for them to take a physical. Now, if you have any questions on insurance and they aren't answered here in these pamphlets, just ask at the insurance desk in Employees Services.
Bob, the one service that I've come to appreciate is the Convair retirement plan. Every hourly employee is covered from the moment he hires in, and membership is automatic. Employee Services will gladly answer any question regarding eligibility or benefits. Now, something else which is available to Convair employees is the safety store. Here you can buy safety equipment for every type of job you can think of. Now, for example, safety lenses are available ground to your own prescription. And safety shoes, which are not only light in weight and good looking, are very reasonably priced. Now, it's important for you new employees to be aware of this safety equipment and the way it can prevent injuries.
When you get right down to it, safety is a pretty big thing around here. Convair holds the world's record, which we established in 1956, for days worked without time lost due to accidents. I think that says more than anything we could say about safety. Every department in the entire plant does its best to keep that world's record here at Convair. It's become a part of our way of life.
We haven't been taking any chances, though. We still keep doctors and nurses in both plants. Although what few injuries we do have are generally minor, the first aid stations take good care of those.
And you know, Norma, there's another employee service that's very important to the men and women in the plant, the tool store. You new employees can buy your tools anywhere you want to, but you'll have trouble finding a better deal than you can get right here. Any employee can buy good tools at a reasonable price and have the cost deducted from his paycheck in installments over a period of weeks.
I don't know how you can top that. Harry, maybe this would be a good time to mention my own baby, Convariety. Do you have that copy?
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is an employee service, too. The name Convariety is really pretty descriptive. It covers a lot of people, subjects, and places. Keeps every single employee abreast of what's going on that concerns Convair. And believe me, that's a lot. For example, Convair Recreation Association activities, which are managed by Convair employees, make pretty worthwhile reading. There's a club for every imaginable activity. It's like looking through the dictionary when you run down the club list.
Clubs play a big part in keeping the employee morale high here at Convair. They contribute tremendously to the spirit of cooperation and friendliness you can feel when you walk through the plants. Friendly people with the same interests can get together and enjoy themselves. No matter what their interests or hobbies, they can find a club they can join. And believe me, that's quite a bit of activity when you realize that the CRA is supported by a percentage of the thousands of nickels and dimes and quarters poured into all the different vending machines scattered throughout the different areas of the plant.
There's another thing we should mention. When I came to work, I had a million different questions about everything. There was one man who was better qualified to answer most of them than anybody else in the entire plant. My supervisor. And that's something I think all of you new employees should realize. Your supervisor will be the best source of information you'll ever be able to find. He can explain things like vacations and holidays, plant rules, quality standards, and how his particular department fits into the entire manufacturing process. Best of all, he knows your job. If you have any questions about anything, he's the man to talk to. If, for some reason, he doesn't have the answer himself, he knows who to ask to get it. And incidentally, if you're going to be late or absent from work completely, it's a good idea to call your supervisor or assistant supervisor and let him know so he can reallocate your work or get a replacement for that day. The employee has a work schedule he's expected to keep. And if it gets thrown out of whack, it affects production all the way down the line.
Also, I think we'd better explain the Contrib Club. It's a pretty unique setup, and some of the employees won't have heard of it before. Like just about everything else here at Convair, it's purely voluntary. If an employee wishes to, he can arrange to have a small amount deducted from his paycheck every payday. This amount is pooled with similar contributions from all of his fellow employees and divided between various accredited charitable organizations like the Red Cross, Community Chest, Salvation Army, Heart Fund, and dozens of others. So far, the Convair Contrib Club has contributed more than $1 million to these different worthy causes, and at no inconvenience to anyone. Incidentally, a Contrib Club member gets a membership card like this, a sticker for his front window at home, and a lapel button, signs to fundraisers that he's already given his share.
Well, I guess we've all given our share to telling this story about Convair. I hope we've made sense.
I think you have, Ray. And I want to thank you and everyone who has helped to present this story. As for you who have now joined Convair, I know that there are a lot of problems and questions that only time and experience will clarify. But I'll be happy if you've learned only one thing from all we've told you about Convair. And this is the fact that Convair is a company made up of people who are working together for our common good and the welfare of our country. So once again, welcome aboard.
In 1946, Convair designed and built an airplane to meet airline and military requirements for a short and medium-range aircraft with a high payload at a minimum operating cost. This is the plane identified as the 240. It has an unequaled record for passenger safety, dependability, and economy of operation. One of the most unique features is the built-in stairway, designed as an integral part of the aircraft. This loading arrangement saves time for airline operators as well as passengers. Convair engineers developed this orange peel cowling to facilitate engine inspection at service points or terminals. The 240 was designed for fast, efficient servicing and maintenance. The engines, each packing 2,400 horsepower, give the airplane a 100% power reserve at all times, both in takeoff and in flight. The 240 is an all-metal low-wing monoplane with full cantilever wing and tail sections. It is equipped with a tricycle landing gear, which keeps the plane level on the ground and adds to the maneuverability while taxiing. Maximum gross weight for takeoff is 39,500 pounds, with a payload of 8,900 pounds. It takes off well under the 3,800-foot runway length required by the CAR. With an ample 3/4 of an hour fuel reserve, the 240 has a range of 830 miles and cruises at 300 miles per hour. Pressurized cabins maintain comfortable flight conditions regardless of altitude or rate of climb or descent of the airplane. The combination of the features shown on this airplane, its safety service record and minimum operational cost, make the 240 the outstanding short and medium haul airplane of its day. With the success of the 240 established, it was only natural for Convair to think in terms of building a newer and larger airplane. As a result, the 340 Convair liner was introduced in October 1951. This is basically a new airplane with a longer fuselage, a higher gross weight, more powerful engines, and many interior design improvements. The increased wing area, power, and fuel capacity enables airline companies to employ the 340 not only for short-range schedules, but also for medium-range hauls, which were previously serviced by 4-engine equipment. The design of the 340 allows maintenance and service crews to perform their jobs simultaneously. This means economical operation and time saved between hauls. This is the only commercial airliner designed with fuel tanks outside and away from the engine nacelles. This is another important safety feature. Hot food is easily loaded aboard for hungry passengers who will dine aloft. With servicing and maintenance quickly and accurately accomplished, the ship is ready to go on the next leg of its flight. For passenger convenience, the hydraulic loading door is on the forward left side as the most functional location. At airline training schools, pilots are taught to take off and fly the Convair liner on a single engine. After a short run, the plane takes off easily and clears the theoretical 50-foot obstacle at the required point with no difficulty. Other airline companies who use Convair liners know that this airplane has one of the highest safety records of any airplane flying today. It flies and climbs easily on one engine. Because of its performance and proven reliability, the Convair 340 airliner was purchased by 21 domestic and foreign airline companies, as well as 11 private industrial firms. The United States Air Force and the Navy ordered modified versions for military training and transport duty, bringing the total number of Convair airplanes in operation throughout the world to over 1,000. Larger tires carrying lower air pressure are an improvement, giving the airplane better handling characteristics on unimproved runways, on ice or in snow. Heavier gear and softer tires reduce maintenance. Dual tires on the gear ensure against blowout failure. Beginning with this Convair 240, billions of passenger miles were flown by these airplanes, establishing an unequaled safety record, with more than 3 million hours of flight over almost 675 million miles of air travel. With the introduction of the 340, the reliability and safety records of the Convair liner continued to grow. From these aircraft came the Metropolitan 440, a new airplane with all the good qualities of its predecessors and a number of major improvements. The many features that have given Convair transports one of the best operating records of any commercial aircraft have been retained in the Metropolitan 440. The home of the 440 liner is in San Diego, California. All the vast resources of this plant are combined to make this twin-engine airliner one of the most efficient and practical of any airplane flying today. The construction is based on proven design with many new features. The huge wings were subjected to tests equivalent to 50 years of airline service. First, the interior of the passenger cabin is covered with sound-damping foil. Next, thick acoustical blankets are added to reduce noise and vibration to a minimum. These airplanes are manufactured under the watchful eyes of skilled craftsmen on this modern production line. In this new versatile model, operators are offered their choice of the standard 44-passenger version or the newly designed expanded seating capacity model, which will accommodate 52 passengers and a crew of 4. The maximum usable fuel capacity is 10,380 pounds, and at average speeds of 289 miles per hour, the maximum range is about 1,210 miles, with a payload of 12,880 pounds. The 440s roll off the assembly line on schedule and with the colors and striping of the airline company that will use them. Now they will receive all ground tests and be made ready for first flight. After each airplane is checked out and flight tests are completed, airline representatives take over and fly the airplane to its home base. The cockpit is in modern styling with wide range of visibility and windows that will remain free of fog, frost, or ice. The instrument panels and all controls are positioned to facilitate every operation in flying the airplane. The placement is truly functional and acclaimed by pilots, both commercial and military, the world over. Electronic equipment in the 440 includes new and improved medium-high and very high-frequency radio communication sets, instrument landing equipment, and intercommunication facilities. Airline and military operators will notice a new look in the Metropolitan's nacelle. The exceptionally clean lines are further streamlined with an increased taper at the forward end and a rectangular exhaust port at the aft end, deflecting the noise down and away from the plane. The new silencer, developed after extensive engineering, reduces exhaust sound levels to a quiet whisper in the passenger cabin. The greatest aid in all-weather flying available for these airliners is the weather mapping radar installation. This enables pilots to avoid or minimize the discomfort and delay resulting from severe turbulence. The seeing nose makes tornadoes, storm centers, or other bad weather visible to the pilot as far as 150 miles ahead. By being able to route an airplane through an area of least turbulence, passengers are assured of a smooth flight without the disturbance of lightning strikes, hail, or buffeting. Thus, the airborne radar, coupled with all the other improvements in the 440, brings a new era to air travel, assuring passengers the utmost in comfort and safety. Because of the excellent performance of the Convair liner, United States military services selected it for a variety of tasks. This is the T-29A, or Flying Classroom. Training navigators is serious business. These are the men who will be responsible for guiding Air Force planes to destinations the world around. The versatility of the airplane permits training operations and training equipment installations comparable to tactical airplanes. The airplanes are designed for overall continuous and realistic training for flight and crew personnel. Comfort, adequate room for instruction and teaching, and learning aids have been considered in the development of these airplanes. The application to various training uses results in greater utilization and increased mobility of training command equipment. The working crew of the ship consists of the pilot, co-pilot, crew chief, and 14 students. All modern methods of dead reckoning, celestial navigation, radar navigation, and LORAN may be taught in this trainer. The equipment used is similar to the types installed in tactical bombers, transports, and troop carriers in current operation, including high-speed types. New or improved equipment may be installed in the trainer on the production line or at modification centers, as such equipment is developed and put into operational use. With today's airplanes flying faster, farther, and higher, the navigation of an aircraft is a vital operation. The T-29 flying classroom gives the student practical in-flight training. With the help of the latest electronic aids and other equipment used for in-flight computation, the final course and flight pattern is in the hands of the navigator. In addition to the various types of radar, navigational, and computing equipment, other T-29s are equipped with a ground position indicator and bomb scoring camera for training navigator bombardiers. The T-29 airplanes have the same configuration as the Convair liner and are pressurized for high-altitude operation. They have increased fuel capacity in the wings for sustained training missions at speeds comparable to some bombardment airplanes. This makes it possible to simulate in-training combat conditions. The training of bombardiers plays an important role in our national defense system and requires a continuous training program by the United States Air Force. After students have been through their schooling in the flying classroom, they are ready for assignment in airplanes like this B-36. Just prior to the actual drop, the bombardier takes over the control of the airplane for the bombing run. The many hours of patience, skill, and training all add up to one thing: a man trained to do a job and do it right. The use of the Convair liner provides a large reserve of aircraft which may be transferred to the logistic command for transport use in an emergency. Another version is the cargo or military transport designed for multiple use. A large hydraulic door, 6 by 8 feet, on this airplane permits easy loading of heavy equipment. Some transports are equipped with even larger doors, depending on the job to be done. The airplane has an exceedingly low replacement and repair rate and minimum spares requirements. It has a sturdy floor designed for a standard 20 by 20-inch cargo tie-down grid pattern. The entire fuselage is pressurized to 4 1600 pounds per square inch. Airplane accessibility permits rapid and easy servicing. Ground handling time and personnel are reduced by convenient loading and handling features. Another of the modified versions is the C-131B, a flying electronic test bed. 2 turbo generator pods slung from the underside of the plane are its distinguishing feature. One turbo generator develops alternating current and the other direct current with an output of 600 amps. The current is used to activate various pieces of electrical equipment to carry out practical experiments under flight conditions. Some foreign countries are also using military versions of the Convair liner. The ability of the airplane to take off with a short run and from small airfields with a rapid rate of climb is a big advantage. This is the R-4Y, produced for the United States Navy. It can readily be adapted to serve as a passenger or cargo transport and as a trainer or evacuation airplane. It is backed by the enviable safety, service, and operations records of Convair liners and training airplanes. The Flying Samaritan, or hospital version, is the C-131A. Working together with helicopter rescue crews trained to carry out their jobs with speed and efficiency, it provides an important link in the rescue of sick or wounded personnel. Rapid evacuation pays off in lives saved. The C-131A has proved to be an ideal airplane for this work, especially where short takeoffs and landings are necessary to get in and out of tight places. The airplane has a pressurized cabin and carries a crew of 5: pilot, co-pilot, radio operator, and 2 medical attendants. This allows room for 12 litter and 18 ambulatory cases. Military planes, evolved from the basic design of an established transport like the Convair liner, have the advantage of confirmed aerodynamic design, established structural integrity, demonstrated equipment reliability, and proven service with maintenance simplicity. Convair liners are widely acclaimed by the men who fly them. Millions of passenger miles have been flown by domestic airline companies as well as many international users. Around the clock, around the world, 24 hours a day, Convair liners are in the sky. They are flying all types of missions for the United States military services and allied air commands. They play an important role in the defense of our country, carrying supplies, performing training missions, and transporting military personnel to far-flung air bases. Smooth, safe, and dependable, whatever their task, wherever they fly.
Back in May 1958, General Electric made its first industry-wide announcement of a turbofan engine on test. It was the result of a number of years of research, going back as far as 1953. In 1955, a GE front fan engine called the D2 was evaluated at Evendale. Turbofan blading was attached to the front of the compressor rotor. The extremely high tip speeds necessary on the D2 front fan and the vibration characteristics of the long blading raised problems which limited the practicality of this design. After several test runs, the front fan program was stopped. Although development difficulties were encountered, GE continued the investigation of mechanical design principles that would result in the cycle benefits inherent in the bypass design. Of all the bypass engines studied, the aft fan design offered the most benefits. Since the fan could be attached to any gas generator, it allowed independent development of the turbofan and the engine. As it was not mechanically connected to the basic engine, it had no effect on the acceleration rates or starting loads. Attached to the developed CJ-805 engine, it produces a 35 to 40% improvement in takeoff thrust, a 20 to 40% gain in climb thrust, and up to 18% more cruise thrust. The aft fan design allows the bypass compressor to run at a different speed than the gas generator compressor, both units traveling at their most desirable tip speed. The major component of the aft fan, called the bucket, combines turbine bucket and fan blade in one stage. Engine test results prove that the mating has been a successful one. For these improvements, there is no increase in fuel flow for a given power setting. From the first tentative experiments, General Electric has expanded to an extensive program for bringing aft fan benefits to transport purchasers. One evidence of the soundness of aft fan design was its rapid, almost trouble-free development. From initial design to the first run was only 6 months, and a 150-hour test was successfully completed only 4 months after that. only one of the 8 aft fan engines on test was 369 hours as of May 1959. The aft fan design required no mechanical or thermodynamic changes to the basic engine. In a vertical assembly, the pre-assembled fan package is moved into place and lowered onto the engine in half the cycle build-up time. It's also possible to attach the fan package horizontally. Aligned with guide pins bolted in place, the aft fan unit is ready for final assembly. Pre-aligned bushings slide down over the pins, allowing a precision fit in minutes. Essentially, 3 changes to the basic CJ-805 engine converted into the fan version. First, the rear turbine frame is removed and replaced by the fan front frame, along with the rest of the fan package. A heavier oil pump is added, plus a slightly different main engine mount on the compressor rear flange. Design, of course, is only as good as actual engine performance. A CJ-805-23 engine, being monitored in a test cell, left this record of its performance. Revving the engine up from idle to full power, this time it takes 5 6/10 seconds. From approach, or 20% power, to full takeoff power takes 2.5 seconds. The recorder makes a permanent trace of parameters. A closer look at the recordings shows exactly what takes place within the engine. Basic engine speed in revolutions per minute. Fan revolutions per minute. Throttle movement. Angle of movement of variable stator vanes from closed to open. Exhaust gas temperature as measured in the engine nozzle. And pressure in pounds per square inch measured in the compressor exit. Throttle movement is initiated from idle position to full takeoff power. 5 6/10 seconds after throttle movement, the engine reaches full takeoff power. Basic engine rotor and aft fan stabilize at exactly the same time, without hunting or surging. The variable stators open during acceleration at the intermediate RPMs and remain in the open position until the throttle is retarded to idle. The compressor discharge pressure curve shows a typical CJ-805 increase pattern with no erratic pressure fluctuations. If an aircraft should miss its landing approach, full engine power is needed quickly. These tracings show what happens when the engine is running at approach, or 20% power, and full power is demanded. Temperature and pressure respond without delay, and in 2.6 seconds, the engine is up to full power. This bogey involves moving the throttle suddenly from full power to idle, holding it there until engine speed approaches idle, then rapidly re-advancing it to full. As this tracing shows, such violent throttle movement can be accomplished without any erratic responses from the engine. During early 1959's below freezing weather, a series of anti-icing tests was conducted at Schenectady, New York. No engine operational difficulties were encountered on the aft fan engine, either as a result of ice accumulation or other causes. At temperatures down to plus 22 degrees Fahrenheit, ice occurred only in very small amounts, even at liquid water contents of 4 grams of water per cubic meter of air. Another outdoor test activity was Phase 1 testing of the CJ-805-23 thrust reverser. The test was completed at one of 3 sites at General Electric's outdoor test facility in a forest area near Peebles, Ohio. Using a standard CJ-805-23 engine with a test rig reverser, engineers fully demonstrated the performance capabilities of this thrust reverser design. During operation, the fan rotor was instrumented with strain gauges to detect adverse effects induced by the reverser. The test was successfully completed with positive results. Thanks to tests such as these, fan reversers are receiving final design approval before hardware is installed in the Convair 600. Although fan engine pod configuration is still being improved, it will look basically like present designs. With the access door open, the whole gas generator will be open for inspection and in the pod maintenance.